Hi guys, it's Owen here from InvestinU again with some more amazing tips, tricks and shortcuts. Today's tip, again, we're using Microsoft Excel, but we're going to talk about custom formatting. Now, again, what I say to many of my classes is when it comes to Excel and it comes to formatting, there are three types of formatting that you have in Excel. You have basic formatting, which you first learn when you're learning how to use Excel or Word or PowerPoint, from bolding, italicing, underlining, changing the background color, putting borders, that kind of thing. So you learn the basic formatting rules there. You've also got the second one then, which is conditional formatting. Brilliant feature brought out in Excel 2000. I promise I will do a video on the conditional formatting tool because it's one of those features I use on a constant basis. But the third type of formatting is custom formatting, the one we're going to talk about today. So again, Microsoft has all these preset formats. But what if you want to kind of customize it so it fits around what you need? Well, this is where this one steps in. Like always, let me just step out of this presentation here for a second, and I'm going to jump straight into Excel, my pre-made spreadsheet here. And the first one I'm going to talk about, one that a lot of people can relate to, account numbers. Have you ever come across a scenario where, you know, you're putting in an account number and maybe that account number has a leading zero or leading zeros? What happens when you type them in? So for example, here, I'm going to put in 001, for example. Okay, you can see here, as soon as I click out of the cell, it drops those leading zeros. So what do? How do we fix that? Well, there's a couple of ways this can be done. The most common way I've seen it done for a lot of users is you get people putting in that inverted comma at the start, you put in your three leading zeros, your one, and you can see straight away, it now sits to the left-hand side. What does that tell you straight away, by the way? That tells you that that's now text. One of the first things we're all taught when it comes to Excel is text left aligns itself, dates and numeric values always right align themselves. So always remember that as well when you're doing these sort of things. But that means then having to put that comma in every time you're putting the account number in. All right. So one fix for that would be very simply highlight the cells, or the cell in this case. You can go up to your home tab and I can come down to my drop down menu here. Okay, so under you can see it's called the number grouping here, and I'm going to go to the drop down and you can see in here there's an option called text. So we're formatting the cell to say anything that goes into this is text. And as soon as I do that, I can put in my three leading zeros and my one, and you can see automatically it sits to the left-hand side, but it keeps those leading zeros. So it just means that I don't have to keep putting that inverted comma in. I can highlight the entire column if I want and just set the format to text. Now, chances are you won't need to do something like you don't need to put that into a calculation. So again, keeping it as text is fine. All right. If it's going to be used for calculation purposes in formulas, but then you may need to keep it as a numeric. But we'll talk about that in a second. Here we go. Here's another one. Common one I get asked. Yeah, I'm trying to put mobile numbers into a spreadsheet. How do we do it? Well, again, look, highlight the whole thing. Come down to the drop down. And again, look, scroll down. Set it as a text. Now it just means every time I put a mobile number in, say, oh, it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look what it does. Keeps it as a numeric value. Now, there are times, though, where people will say to me, well, do you know what? Can we add a little bit extra to that? So do you know what would be great? With those mobile numbers, the 085, the 086, the 087, whatever it is, we'd like a nice set of brackets around that prefix and a space. So it just becomes, you know, if we're working with hundreds of mobile numbers, they can all start blending into each other. Just want to make it look visually that bit better. So what we're going to now use is we could type it in, but it means typing the brackets in every single time. But I want is that every time I put a mobile number in, it just follows this formatting. So we're going to create our own custom format. Now, again, I'm not going to set it to text, but I'm going to do something slightly different here. I'm going to go to one of my cells, go to the one beside it, or highlight all that group of cells. I can right click again and I come down to format cells this time. Now I can also get to that by selecting the cell, back to this drop down menu here and looking for the option called more number formats. Select it, go to custom. Again, what I'm looking for here is not any of the preset formats that Microsoft have. I want to customize my own. So I'm going to go into custom, take away general here. And what I'm going to use here is a 0. The 0 in this terms, in custom format terms, represents any number from 0 to 9. Now, the mobile numbers that we're working with here have 10 digits. Okay? But remember what I said. I'd like the first 3, the prefix of that, inside brackets. So I use my brackets, watch. 1, 2, 3. Okay, space, and then the other 7 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what it now means is that cell, or all the cells that I've highlighted, will now follow that formatting. Any 10-digit number I put in here will now follow that format. So if I come and click OK, 0, 8, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any mobile numbers, just need to widen the column, I type in, will follow that formatting. And you can see I can do that to multiple cells as well. Now, let's take that one a step further. So now what we're looking at here is I'm working with weights, for example. So this is a common occurrence, common question I get asked in scenarios is I'm working with data. I want to add a bit of formatting to it, okay? Or I want to add, so for example, we're dealing with weights here. So I've got a column here with kgs. Now I've got a label at the top, but I want my answers to appear with lbs. Now, if I was to do something like that without using custom format, let me give you an example here. So I'm going to type in 23 kg, 45 kg, and 56 kg. Now, what's the first thing you notice about those 3 values that I've typed in? They're all sitting to the left-hand side. What does that tell you? It's text. So if I try to calculate that then, so again, I'm going to use my lovely shortcut key, Alt equals, remember from our last video, and you can see it's not picking up this, but it's picking up this numeric, because these are not being recognized in numeric, because they're not, they're text. So if I try to calculate that, look, I get an answer of 0, because you cannot sum up text. So how do we get around a scenario like that? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all these values, because what I'd like to do is with these values, I'd like to have kg on the end of it, but keep them as numeric so they sit to the right hand side. So I highlight the whole data range in this case. So I'm going to use our lovely shortcut key that we learned in previous videos, highlight the whole thing, click on the first cell, hold down Control Shift and arrow down. Highlight down as far as row 37. And all I'm going to do again, I can do this by coming down here, more number formats, or I can use the right click option here, look, format cells, into custom. And what I'm going to do again is I'm going to use 0. Now I'm not changing the format, all I'm asking is to put kg on the end of it. So I use 0. And because I want then kg on the end, kg is text. So what do we know about text when it comes to formulas or comes to custom formatting? Whenever you're using text in a formula or in custom formatting, you've got to make sure it's inside those double quotes. So I'm going to put kg, so double quote kg, close double quote, inverted commas, whatever you want to call them. And I click OK, and look what it does. It puts kg, but what do you notice? So if I was to come down here and say, right, I'd like to sum up all of these. Here's our lovely shortcut key, Alt and equals, sum up the whole thing. Yes, please. And even my answer appears with kg on the end of it. So I'm going to make that nice and big so you can see really stands out. Now, what we also want to know is, will that work with formulas? So what I'd like to do is come up with a formula that converts it from kilograms to pounds. So I have the conversion already researched here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, take this value and multiply it by 2.204, please. And I hit enter. And our lovely little tip that we learned last week, I want to copy this formula all the way down to the end. I'm not going to drag this down. I'm going to double click and it copies it all the way down to the end. Now, again, remember, I want the LB on the answer here. So while it's highlighted, right click, format cells, into custom. Look, put my 0 in to represent the number, whether that's a single digit number to a multi-digit, whether it's a positive, a negative, or a 0. That's what the 0 represents in this case. 0. And I want double quote, LB, close double quote. Now, just before we finish this, what if you said to me, well, actually, can I keep 1 or 2 of the decimals? Well, why not? Put in 0, decimal, 0, 0. So I'll get 50.69. I click OK, and look what it does. It keeps 2 decimal places, but has LB all the way down to the end. So again, if I come in here, and I'm going to use my lovely Alt and equals again, sum up the whole thing for me, and even my answer appears with the LB. Take this formatting here, our format painter, and you can see absolutely brilliant. Because we're using this custom formatting, it's keeping it as a numeric. We can see that because it's sitting to the right hand side, and because I've got the LB in. Now just be aware, one final thing, that this is only cosmetic. You're only changing what it looks like on the front end. So if I was to click on this cell here, you can still see Excel recognizes that it's 23. If I go to pounds here, you can see it's just showing the format. It's only a cosmetic change, but that's custom formatting for you. Okay, look, pretty good one there today. I know it's one of those things that I get asked on a regular basis about adding text to a numeric value to keep it as a numeric. And you can see the examples that we had there, from the mobile number to the account number to even working with weights is a good example. As always, guys, if you really like these videos, don't forget to like or follow us on our Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll also find us on our website, www.InvestinU.ie. As always, guys, I will be doing another of these next week, so stay tuned. And as always, stay safe.